नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तन्तोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यान् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि। श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता अध्याय 2 श्लोक 46 यावानर्थ उदपानि सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः। We will read the Bhashya. There may be 2 different readings. In some books, the quotation may not start from Yatha Kritaya Vijitaya. Where does it start from? Sarvam, Sarvam. Yeah, we will read only from that. Sarvam tadabhisameti yatkincha prajas sadhu kurvanti यस्तद्वेद यत्सवेद इति श्रुतेः। To demonstrate that Bhagavad Gita is in concurrence with Shruti, Bhagavan is quoting a corresponding statement from the Shruti. The statement of the Shruti, which conveys the same message as the present shloka. This Shrutivakya occurs in chapter 4 of Chandogyopanishad. In chapter 4, there is a section dealing with a special form of upasanam called Samvarga Vidya. Samvarga Vidya. There, Samvarga Vidya is presented through a story. The story of Janashruti and Raikva. It is a very interesting story. It was summer. On a summer night, Janashruti, the king of the place, he was sleeping on the terrace of his palace because he wanted some open air. He was sitting on the terrace. He was sleeping, lying down. Then two hamsa birds, they were flying in that path in the sky. One hamsa is flying a little ahead, then another hamsa is behind. Then the first hamsa, which was flying ahead in the front, was about to fly on Janashruti, right above Janashruti. Then the hamsa at the back calls this hamsa, his friend hamsa, and says, "Don't fly right above Janashruti, because Janashruti is a very great man. He has done so much of punya. And because of the punya, his tejas, his brilliance is spreading up, right vertically up till the Swarga. Therefore, if you fly above him, because of his brilliance, it might scorch you to death." This was the statement of the hamsa at the back. Then the hamsa at the front says, "Don't think Janashruti is such a great man. There is another greater person. Janashruti is nowhere in front of that person." And what is his name? Raikwa. Sayugvanamiva Raikwa Matha. This Janashruti is nowhere in front of Raikwa. So with this statement, Janashruti's pride was demolished. His pride got shattered and he became humble. And then the hamsa speak. The other hamsa is asking this hamsa, "How is that Raikwa like? What is the greatness of the Raikwa?" Then the other hamsa who knows Raikwa says this statement, "Yatha kritaya vijitaya adhareya sanyanti, evam sarvam tadabhisameti, yatkincha praja sadhu kurvanti, yastadveda yatsaveda iti." Yaha yat saveda, what he knows, it is Samvarga Vidya, the knowledge that Raikwa has. Yaha tadveda, if anybody else knows that, what Raikwa knows, then all the punyas done by everyone in the world is included in his punya. Yatkincha praja sadhu kurvanti, all the amount of punya that other people do, all the good karmas that other people do, Sarvam tad abhisameti. All that karma is included in him. All the phala of the karma is included. It comes to him without doing anything else, just because of the vidya. And for that, an example is given. Yatha kritaya vijitaya adhareya sanyanti. This example is based on Dyuta. We had a Dyuta. Dyuta means gambling, a form of gambling. It was a game like Ludo. You have a dice. And this dice has 4 sides and 4 numbers. One side has 1, another side has 2, third one has 3, and the other one has 4. And each number is called Krita, Treta, Dwapara, Kali. The names of the yugas are given to the 4 sides. Krita means 4, number 4, the highest. The other 3, 1, 2, 3. Three is a Treta, 2 is a Dwapara, and 1 is Kali. That is the arrangement of the number in the dice. In the game, if someone gets a 4, number 4, he becomes victorious. He wins the game. And once he gets number 4, the other 3 numbers, the people who get other 3 numbers, all that they gain, it all comes to him. It is included in what he gains. Because he wins the game. Therefore, in the Krita Aya, Aya means the dice. The dice which is Krita, the number 4, which is Vijitaya, which is the dice of victory, the number of victory. Adhareya sanyanti. All the lower numbers are included in it. Once you get number 4, the other 3 become redundant. It is the example. The smaller ones are included in the greater ones. Therefore, once you get the greater, the smaller things are redundant. Because the purpose of the smaller is served in the greater. This is another example given in the Shruti. Iti Shrutehe. This Shruti Vakya also resonates the same message. Yavanartha udapane sarvatas samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanataha. The other three Purusharthas, they become redundant when one attains Moksha Purushartha. Because moksha is completeness. Moksha is completeness. You discover your own completeness. It is moksha. The other three Purusharthas, what do you pursue in other three Purusharthas? You are pursuing completeness. Artha. Through wealth I will become complete. Can you reduce the speed? Yeah, fan. It is too. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Artha, Kama, as well as Dharma. What do you seek? You seek completeness. And we seek them through additions from outside ourselves. All our pursuits are aimed at in becoming complete. If I become this, I will become complete. If I become that, I will become complete. That is what people think. We want to become something. Because we are not happy as we are. I am limited as I am. And I am not ready to accept my limited nature. I am not ready to accept my limited identity. Why I am not able to accept my limited identity? Because it is not my true nature. My essential nature itself is infinite. But because of ajnana, because of adhyasa, I have possessed a limited identity. I am confined to the limited upadhi, limited body and mind. Some of the acharyas give the example of a bamboo stick. When you bend a straight bamboo stick, to form a bow, the stick does not want to remain bent. It wants to regain its original shape, its original nature of straightness. And that is called elasticity. An object in the world wants to regain its original nature. Because that is how it is in the world. Likewise, when we are confined to the body, We are not ready to accept our limitation. We want to regain our original nature of infinity. Therefore, everyone wants to be free from limitation. Everyone wants to be complete. We are seekers of completeness. All our pursuits are aimed at completeness. But unfortunately, we don't seek it in our own nature. We seek it outside. Let me become something, then I will become complete. And we pursue completeness through artha. Let me become rich, then I will become complete. Let me become enjoyer of certain things, then I will become complete. So on and so on. Let me become Prime Minister. Let me become Chief Minister. So we want to become something other than what we are. Maybe through possession, maybe through getting social recognition, maybe through relations. We want to become something. But unfortunately, anything that you become is going to be limited. At the maximum, we can aspire to become Hiranyagarbha. Let me become Hiranyagarbha. Even that is limited. We have seen the limitations of Hiranyagarbha. Then the Vedanta comes and says, you don't have to become anything to be complete. You are already complete. You discover your completeness within yourself. That is moksha. And once you find your completeness in yourself, all becoming becomes redundant. Because anything you become cannot be greater than what you already are. You are greater than anything that you can become. Therefore, you don't have to become anything. That is how the purpose of all other purusharthas are included in moksha. Therefore, once you attain moksha, all other purusharthas become redundant. That is why in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, Krishna says, Yallabdhva chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tataha. Having attained which one does not have anything more to gain. There is nothing more to gain after getting moksha. Because you have attained the complete, and nothing more can be added to the complete. Nothing more can be added to the infinite. No further addition is possible. That is how moksha is the ultimate purushartha. Sarvam karma, we will read. Sarvam karma khilam iti chavakshyati. Sarvam karma khilam partha jnane parisamapyate. This is from Bhagavad Gita itself. Bhagavan Bhashyakara quotes from Bhagavad Gita itself to clarify the message conveyed by this shloka. Moksha is a jnana phala. Jnana gives moksha. Karmas cannot directly give moksha, but the direct results of karma are other three purusharthas. Sarvam karma khilam jnane parisamapyate. All karma culminates in jnana. Means once you get jnana and discover your completeness, all the karmas become redundant. Means all the results of the karma, they are no more sought by you. You no longer seek them. Therefore, sarvam karma akhilam jnane parisamapyate. All karmas culminate in jnana. Iti cha vakshyati. This will be told later on in chapter 4. तस्मात् प्राग्ज्ञाननिष्ठाधिकारप्राप्तेः कर्मणि अधिकृतेन उपतडागाद्यर्थस्थानीयम् अपि कर्म कर्तव्यम्. So, jnana phala, moksha, surpasses the result of karmas. In that case, Arjuna will get a question which is guessed by Anandagiri. Tarhi jnananishta eva kartavya tavata eva karma phalasya labdhataya karmanushthananapekshanaritya shankya aha. If karma phala is included in jnana phala, and if on getting jnana phala karma becomes redundant, then why I should perform karma? I can directly go for jnana nishtha. Arjuna might get this question. Then Bhashyakara says, one can go for jnana nishtha if one is already qualified. But the truth is that everyone is not qualified for jnana nishtha. Everyone, including Arjuna, is not yet qualified for jnana. Therefore, to qualify for jnana, before getting the qualification, one should perform karma. Tasmat, therefore means since Jnana phala is the greatest. Therefore, one has to get jnana phala, moksha. But for getting jnana, one should be ready for it. And to prepare oneself for jnana, one has to go through karma yoga. Therefore, prajnana nishtadhikara praptehe, before attaining adhikara for jnana nishtha, jnana nishtha adhikara praptehe prak, before getting adhikara, before being an adhikari for jnana nishtha, one has to do karma. Karmani adhikratena. Before that, you are entitled only for karma. Therefore, kupatadagadhyarthasthaniyam api. Even though the karma has limited result, kupatadagadhyarthasthaniyam. Karma gives only limited result, just like Kupa, Tadaga, etc. The limited water bodies. Karma kartavyam. One should perform karma. Thus, Bhagavan laid a foundation to introduce karma yoga by showing the importance of moksha. To pursue karma yoga, one should know the importance of moksha, because karma yoga is also performed by a mumukshu. And now from next shloka, Bhagavan explains karma yoga. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhuhu ma te sangostva karmani. This is a very well-known shloka in Bhagavad Gita. Most often people quote this shloka, whether they know the meaning properly or not. This is what Krishna says. All of you might have heard this shloka in TV and all. So this is one of the prominent shlokas explaining karma yoga. Karmani eva adhikaraha te. Before we get into this shloka, let us understand a little about karma yoga. What is karma yoga? Karma yoga involves performance of swadharma. You perform any karma, it cannot become karma yoga. One has to perform proper karma, and the proper karma is one's swadharma, the dharma that is enjoined for oneself. by the Shastra in a given situation, it is Swadharma. The Swadharma can be performed with various objectives. One objective could be, if I perform my Swadharma, I will be happy in future. I may go to Swarga. I will get material happiness in this life. This can be one goal of performing Swadharma. In that case, the Swadharma becomes a Kamya Karma or Sakama Karma. One can perform one Swadharma as Sakama Karma. He may perform Yajna, he may perform Dana, he may perform Tapas, and he may do all his duties, but with the desire for material happiness. My Swadharma will produce Punya, and if it produces Punya, as a result of Punya, I will be happy in this life and hereafter. With this intention, one can perform Swadharma. But then there is another way of doing Swadharma. Doing Swadharma as offering to Ishvara. With Ishvararpana Buddhi. Performing one's Swadharma as a worship of Ishvara. How can one perform one's Swadharma as a worship of Ishvara? First of all, one should look upon one's duties as Ishvara's Ajna. Ishvara has put me in this situation. The situation where you are there at present, it is not your choice. At least for now, it is not your choice. You might have made a choice earlier which resulted you come to this situation. But at present, it is not your choice. We have done some karma that has brought us in this situation. But at present, it is not your choice. And all that is without choice, we have to recognize it as Ishvara. Ishvara has kept me in a given situation. And then the same Ishvara has given me the understanding of what is right and what is wrong, what I am supposed to do in a given situation. I have the understanding. And if I don't have the proper understanding, I have the means to know the proper thing. What is right in a given situation? I can know with the help of Shastra. Even the Shastra is Ishvarajna. Shruti Smriti Mamayivajne. Do this in a given situation. The Shastra says, to know one's dharma, there are various pramanas. Veda Smritis Sadacharaha Swasya cha Priyamatmanaha. Etat Chaturvidham Prahuhu Sakshad Dharmasya Lakshanam. Veda is one source to know one's dharma. Then there is Smriti. If the Vedas are not clear, the Smritis will tell me what I should do. If Veda and Smriti are not clear, then Sadacharaha, what a dharmika person does in the society in a given situation, it is my pramana. And if all the three are inconclusive, then Swasya cha Priyamatmanaha, what my conscience says, right in a given situation. All these are pramana for dharma. And the access to the knowledge of dharma is also given by Ishvara. Ishvara has made it available to me. Therefore, what is right, it is also given by Ishvara. Ishvara has put me in a given situation and he has given me the understanding of the right and wrong. And what I am supposed to do with my ability in a given situation, since it is Ishvara's ajna, I do it as Ishvara's work. Recognizing Ishvara in my life, in the situation where I am put, I do it as Ishvara's work. That is the aspect of Karma Yoga. That is the secret of Karma Yoga. I do every work as Ishvara's work. Ishvarasya bhrityavat karomi. I do the karma as a servant of Ishvara. With this attitude, one performs karma. And he accepts every situation in life as the grace of Ishvara. It is another aspect of Karma Yoga. Accepting every situation in life as the grace of Ishvara. We don't have choice over so many things. Where we are born, our parents, we didn't choose. Whether we should be born male or female, we did not choose. It is choiceless. And so many things that happen in our life, we don't have choice over it. All that we don't have choice, we accept as the grace of Ishvara. We might like certain things in our life, and we may not like certain things in our life. Pleasant and unpleasant. Both pleasant and unpleasant, that we don't have choice over. It is a result of our karma. It is karma phala. Everything that we are experiencing, including our body. Our body is also karma phala. What kind of body we have, healthy or unhealthy. Male or female. It is our karma phala. All that we don't have choice over is karma phala. And accepting the karma phala as the grace of Ishvara. Ishvara has given it. Let me accept it as prasada. Therefore, Karma Yoga includes accepting all that is without choice. All the given in life as the grace of Ishvara. Therefore, Karma Yoga involves our attitude towards the action as well as our attitude towards the situations in life. In short, Karma Yoga involves a different attitude towards the life itself. A Karma Yogi looks upon his life differently. A non-Karma Yogi, he looks upon life differently. When he has a favorable situation in life, he is in elation. I am happy. He is in elation. And when he has an adverse situation in life, something unpleasant in life, he keeps complaining. And when he has to perform any action, he just looks at the benefit. What will I get? Will I really get benefit in this action or not? That is what he sees. A non-Karma Yogi's attitude towards life and his attitude towards work are different. Whereas a Karma Yogi's attitude towards life and his works, his actions are different. He does not complain about his life. He does not complain about the situations in life. Everything that happens in life, he takes as Ishvara Prasada. Because everything that happens in life is our karma phala. We deserve it. And the phala is given by Ishvara. Ishvara is karma phala data, whether pleasant or unpleasant. He accepts his life. He accepts all the situations in life. Karma Yoga involves acceptance. And as far as his actions are concerned, a Karma Yogi performs all the actions as the worship of Ishvara. Ishvara has kept me in this situation, and Ishvara has given me this understanding of right and wrong. Therefore, this work that I am supposed to do is Ishvara's ajna. A few years back, a lady asked me, she has to take care of her son. She is a mother, and the mother's duty is to take care of her son, feed her son, her child. And someone told her, you look upon your son as Krishna and feed him. But she told me, I am not able to look upon my son as Krishna. He is my son, that's all. Then how can I practice Karma Yoga in my duty towards my son? Then I told her, whether you look upon your son as Krishna or not, it is a different thing. You may or may not be able to do it. But you can understand that it is Ishvara who made you a mother. It is Ishvara who gave you this son. It is Ishvara who has put you in this situation. You are a mother and you have to take care of your son. And it is Ishvara who has given you the understanding of your duty towards your son. First of all, understand this. Karma Yoga involves this understanding. Ishvara has kept me here. And then look upon your duty as the work of Ishvara. In this action of bringing up my child, I am performing the work of Ishvara. And then she understood what she has to do. What change in her attitude will make her actions into Karma Yoga? She understood. Therefore, there has to be a change in our attitude towards life as well as all our actions. It forms Karma Yoga. And when we perform actions as Karma Yoga, it brings about Chitta Shuddhi. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.